Hi everyone, I'm sorry this video has taken 5 years, and don't mind the cut on my face, but I figured if I haven't been happy with this script for 5 years, let's just make the video. So okay, for background on the game, Agent Under Fire was originally, supposedly, reportedly, a lot of lees in it. Allegedly. There we go, that's a big one. It was allegedly a port of The World Is Not Enough to the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. That's how it started. Especially because when you bought the movie on VHS, there was an ad for it saying it was coming to the PlayStation 2 and the PC. And there's even EA archive footage of like the early build of the game being shown off. The big thing that caught me this time was that Agent Under Fire, I played it like, I would play it like Nightfire. And I know we haven't discussed Nightfire yet, but I would play it more like Nightfire than like any other Bond game at the time, because I played Nightfire first, and then I played Agent Under Fire later on. I was playing it wrong. Agent Under Fire feels like a bridge between like first-person shooters like GoldenEye, Nightfire, and the Medal of Honor games, and boomer shooters. Because of course there are times when you take cover, you have to aim and make sure you're aiming correctly and not just like aim in the general direction and bam, you're good. No, it was very precise, even though accuracy is an unlock in this game. I'm not kidding. But also, the final boss of the game is a guy with a rocket launcher flying around. And that is very much a boomer shooter final boss. And if you stop moving, you die. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. So the plot of the game is clones. I think the beginning of the game is that they figure, you know what, James, you're in Hong Kong or near Hong Kong on vacation. You're done with vacation. We're putting you in the field. And he has to save, I believe, a CIA operative and get like a briefcase full of vials and testing equipment. He does. He succeeds. He's James Bond. And you're treated to a fun level, like a fun intro level. This is where you learn the controls are Nintendo 64 controls. So the right stick, the right analog stick, is your C buttons for the 64 controller, so you strafe and look up and down, but the left stick is your stick on the 64, so you look left and right and you move forward and back. A little weird, but I can get used to it. And it's a fun level. You get 2 different ways to enter the building. There's 4 different feature locations, rather, in the mission for different loading stages. And you can tell, yeah, this was early that generation, because it released on PS2 before the GameCube and Xbox even released as consoles. For the time, it was rather impressive, I'm sure. Especially because you have, in the 3rd location of the level, the lights go out. And that's kind of scary. The lights go out, they know where you are, and bullets just start flying. And they throw grenades at you, and it's really intense. It's a lot of fun. And the last part is a big sub pen, which totally wasn't stolen from World Is Not Enough, but a big sub pen. And you have to work your way down and save the CIA agent. Then there's a turret section, which the turret sections in this game are not bad. They're actually really fun. Even, well, I'll get to that later. The 3rd level is your first driving level of the game. You have to take out a truck using an EMP. Depending on how good you are and how you know the level, this can take you forever. But luckily, I've suffered through it so much as a kid that I believe I did this really quickly. But after that is your first stealth mission of the game. And your first stealth mission, you infiltrate the embassy, an embassy in Romania, I believe. And you can do what I did and punch everything, or you can use your dart gun. I usually try to save the dart gun for the boss fight later on, or I punched him. Gotta make it more challenging for myself, because God knows I played way too many Bond games. You meet the main antagonist of the game, which, if this was a Roger Moore game, allegedly it was supposed to be, he totally would have done the bad guy. You also fight a clone? A clone of one of the bad guys. The game isn't too clear about it, but it insinuates that it's a clone. You fight a clone, and you make him overdose on bullets. By bullets, I mean tranquilizer darts or your fists. So, I like how they put one final guard at the exit of the building, just because, and that was actually really fun. That caught me off guard. The cold reception, you're in a mountain peak. You're in like an evil office, and they introduced 2 twins, clones maybe. You never see them again. So I don't know if the game was rushed or if we were just supposed to look at them. Not terrible for 2001. And yeah, the main bad guy you're supposed to meet with, Bond, almost saw naked in the last level. So she'll know Bond has to get out. Bond makes a getaway on a zip line Hopefully not with his bare hands, because that would be a pain. And the next level, you're back in the embassy. And it doesn't really feel like James Bond. I mentioned it on stream, and then I think I watched Calvin Dyson's video. He released the Agent Under Fire video right after I recorded footage and streamed the game. And he even said, this doesn't feel like James Bond. This feels like another anti-terrorism game. And that's what I even said. It felt more like Winback, Covert Operations on the 64. I like that game. But this mission felt weirdly dark and out of place in the overarching story. I still had fun with it. It was a good level. And in the 6th level, the objective is to save somebody named Natalia. I thought it was a GoldenEye reference when I was little, because I didn't realize they had 2 different last names. So as a little kid, I'm like, oh my god, GoldenEye! No, but you encounter the Jackal, you fight a helicopter, or you can just shoot the pilot out and get a Bond moment. That's fun. But yeah, like going through this really dark and dreary embassy gunning down terrorists as they hold hostages at gunpoint. You did it in GoldenEye, you did it on the frigate, you did it in The World Is Not Enough, in the subway. But here, it just feels wrong. I don't know why. It feels like it shouldn't be here. Not that it's wrong, killing terrorists is like my favorite pastime in video games, but it just feels out of place, incredibly out of place. The streets, I hated this level growing up. I really did. I didn't like driving levels when I was little. I love this level now. It feels like a big open world, just in the streets. And it's not a big open world, it's kind of a small map, but you travel to your objectives, you get it done, you ride the DB5, it's a fun level. At least the first driving section is a lot of fun. There's many gaps to go over, there's fun ways to use your gadgets. It's fun. And the sense of speed as you're going around corners and trying to like beat the bad guys to the objective, I had a lot of fun. That was probably the best driving level in a Bond game. I'm probably gonna eat those words, but it was probably my favorite driving level in a Bond game. The second half of the level, Bond steals a tank, homage to GoldenEye, I love it. It wasn't too terribly fun, at least I don't think so, because I think this turret section lacks what the other ones had. Because the other ones, you had the shotgun, the AK-47, and the rocket launcher. But here you only have the minigun and the tank cannon, but not really just a lack of guns, also a lack of character, because in the last turret section in level 2, you had Nightshade, like conversing, going back and forth with Bond, not really conversing, but like quipping at each other a little bit. It wasn't too much, it wasn't too little, it was just fine. And you're missing that here, because it's just a really quiet turret section. Except for when Q's like, hey, use your X-ray goggles, I fitted them out with night vision. Have fun. And I mean, it's fun, it's just, it's so boring, you know? But after that, you have Fire and Water. I thought Fire and Water was the worst level in the game growing up. It might still be, but it gave me the hardest time when I was little, because the jetpack. Bond is so floaty throughout the game, and he controls like that because he has to compensate for the jetpack later. Much like Mario 64 with the sky cap, or the wing cap, and Dash Rendar in Shadows of the Empire when he gets a jetpack. So the jetpack is fun. It feels underutilized though in this game, which kind of sucks. You only get it in 2 levels, but the jetpack is really fun to use if you know how to use it correctly. Otherwise, it'll be the bane of your existence. Also, this is when the game fully introduces Nigel. Yep, you have Nigel, one of the villain's henchmen that was in the first level slapping around your CIA operative. But in this level, he's the villain you chase throughout the level. That's really it. That's all he does. It's not bad, but you can tell he should have been Renard. Just the way he looks, and even his voice kind of sounds like it would fit as Renard. He's not Robert Carlyle, but he would probably fit as Renard in just a video game, or of The World Is Not Enough. If you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna get shot by snipers and M16s from miles away, but if you know what you're doing, you'll be able to just maintain your distance, pick them off, and keep going. I believe we got a game over in this level on stream. I was on normal, and this was the only game over I got. You get 3 lives in each level. I forgot about that. You get 3 lives in each level, and it plays kind of like an arcade game in that instance. Some of these enemies felt kind of cheap in this level. The next level is the last turret level, and it's really fun because it takes place in what looks like a gun barrel. I know it's just some underwater tube, but it looks like the gun barrel, and that's kind of nice. That's neat. And I can't help but wonder again, is this a World Is Not Enough level left over? Oh yeah. But you get different notifications throughout the level that like, hey, the villain barbecue this weekend. The happy hour is then. And I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, of course, it's like a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. No wonder they wanted Roger Moore for this game originally. But it really seemed just like a fun love letter to, you know, goofiness. Kind of like what Austin Powers was. The level ends with throwing Nigel into a lava pit, and the level Poseidon, I love it and I hate it. Let me explain. Because the level itself is very contained, it's very linear. Okay, pretty standard stuff. I couldn't tell at the end if they were going for, again, the world is not enough. Because you end the level, surprise, in a sub pen. If you pick up a key card, if you don't pick up a key card, Bond gets knocked out. Keep in mind, this key card is not marked by an objective, it's something you just find on a table. If you don't get the key card, Bond is knocked out. You start the next level in a cell. Well, level 11, no matter where you start, you're in an aircraft carrier. And this level I hated recently, I loved growing up, and now I love it again. Again, like why I said the script took 5 years to write, and I just decided to ad-lib it. Bond is just, you're pretty much going room to room blowing people away. That's the level. There's no hostages to save, everybody on board is dead. But then you find out, as you're on board, all the G8 leaders have been cloned and are on this very boat. That's nuts. So what does Bond do? He sinks it. Then you have the last level summit. It's a fun one, honestly, it is. It tests your platforming ability with floaty Bond, which can be really good or really bad. It's not even really a skill issue. Sometimes I found it as just a, what's the word? A luck issue. Because, yeah, at that point you have the Q-Claw, the jetpack, and just your jump. So you have 3 different ways of getting over platforms, usually. But sometimes the one you go with doesn't really work so good. But then you save everybody in the world, or at least all the leaders, and then Malprave shows up again, and is like, haha, you have not beaten me, Mr. Bond. I still have Nigel, with a rocket launcher and a jetpack. You beat Nigel by running around him and pelting him with bullets. I'm not kidding, that's how we beat him, because he's a boomer shooter boss. And Malprave dies at the end, not in a boss fight. All around, the controls feel weird. They can feel very weird to people who are used to more modern controls. Even if you've played Nightfire before you played this, the controls are kind of backwards. And the multiplayer, it's not nearly as good as Nightfire or even GoldenEye. Because this multiplayer, I can understand it tried to rival Time Splitters 1. So they used the ideas they had from The World Is Not Enough on N64, and they tried to flesh out a multiplayer mode that way. Not a mod, dude. It's all right. It's not great. Nightfire did it better, but that's for the next video. It's fine. I mean, a lot of the levels kind of feel like they belong in The World Is Not Enough, such as Harbor, and I believe there's a few others that I mentioned on stream. A lot of the markings in this game from The World Is Not Enough are still left there. You can feel the influence through a lot of even the guns, because when you play The World Is Not Enough on 64, I believe on PS1 as well, most of the same guns. You still get the P90, you still get the M16 with the grenade launcher. And yeah, the P2K still is there because of the P2K. I'm glad we have Agent Under Fire. When I was younger, I went back and forth on it. I really enjoyed it, and some days I really didn't like it. But for what it was, looking at it now, from a more objective lens with some subjectivity thrown in, it's a very decent game. I would honestly be very happy with them if MGM decided, you know what, we haven't put out a Bond game recently and IO Interactive is taking forever. Agent Under Fire doesn't really have any real actors tied to the game. I mean, they have voice actors, but not like actors. So let's take this game and port it to newer consoles, $20. If you add online multiplayer, bump it to 30. Because I would love to play a Bond multiplayer game with my brothers, and I understand we could do that on the NSO with GoldenEye, but have you played NSO? But yeah, honestly, I've been working on this video. I've been working on this script for like 5 years. I started it my junior year of college. I was 20, I'm now 25. So I figured, get this out of the way, just make a video about Agent Under Fire, and I'll see you with Nightfire. I can't wait for that one, that's gonna be great. I highly recommend it to Bond fans. I can kind of recommend it to video game historian or enthusiasts, because James Bond has played a big part in gaming history. But honestly, guys, that's enough for me. I'd love to hear from you. If you have fantastic memories with Agent Under Fire, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. If you have a different opinion on Agent Under Fire, if you loved it, if you hated it, I would love to hear your opinions on it, because honestly, I liked a lot of it. But for some reason, some of it just did not land with me. And probably because a lot of it just felt okay. A lot of it felt like growing pains. It seemed like they took The World Was Not Enough on PS1 and tried to upscale that instead of the 64 game. And they took ideas from the 64 for the multiplayer, but it didn't seem like they took it for the campaign. And yeah, if you want to check out where we film these reviews, or at least get the footage for these kinds of reviews, the Twitch channel that we use, my Twitch channel, will be in the link in the description. Hoping to do more videos like this, and if you want to be around for when we get the footage that we use back here, as you can see, it's not really just the game, feel free to follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/BirdseyNYY, and we'll get all the footage for these reviews. At least what we're aiming to do is that, and you can be a part of the discussion. So I really appreciate it. I hope everyone has a fantastic day, a fantastic night. Take care of yourselves. See you next time.